Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here with Donald. Rob has been busy with work. So he will be back on Friday. He's told us. So we look forward to getting him into the conversation to close out the week. But, the Yankees are having an issue right now with their rotation. And it's leaving a lot to be desired. And going into the spring, we were expecting to have, we were being told, and the evidence showed that we were set to have one of the better rotations in baseball, and it has been anything but that. Donald, I'm not going to spoil your research. I'll get your opinion in a second, but what it made me think, when you lose your star player out of a lineup, you expect other people to elevate. Like we've seen it over the years. Like when you take Judge out of the lineup, it's everything else just seems to fall apart. And it seems like they're having the same situation with the rotation this year, minus Cole, and also minus Schmidt, minus Heel. We're trying to piece together, and we had said, right, we started here first in the offseason, actually in the spring. The key to the key to the Yankees' success this season is not going to be its offense. It's going to be its pitching. The pitching has to do well enough to give the offense a chance to scratch a couple of runs out and then hand it off to the bullpen. And that has not happened. They are not holding up their end of the bargain to have a successful season. So, Donald, you have done some research on this. So why don't I just hand the mic over to you and let you reveal to everybody the unfortunate news you found out.
Unfortunate news. It's not as bad as that. It's just the unfortunate statistics, I think we should put it down to. First of all, everybody in the chat, say hello. Please share it out. Please like and please sub any possible way you can. Do your thing in order to let's continue to grow this channel. It's pretty important. So if you guys could hit the like button, please. Just before I get into this, I just want to say a shout out to Chris Kirshner because this was an excellent article on the Athletic. Subbed up to the Athletic, and this is a quality article. So if you haven't already done so, I do recommend checking out the Athletic because Chris Kirshner really does break things down very, very well. So just wanted to preface this by giving the credit to him because he wrote this article. Now, this is the information that he's provided, guys, right? Okay, so brace yourselves. Here we go. The lack of quality starting pitching depth through 11 games is glaring for the Yankees. They are dead last in baseball with 0 quality starts. That's right. Let me re-emphasize that. The Yankees are dead last in baseball with 0 quality starts. Oh, but what about Max Fried? What about Rodon? Well, it isn't classified as a quality start. You have to go 6 innings. The Yankees are dead last in that department. That is completely unacceptable, right? So they're dead last in baseball with 0 quality starts, okay? But it gets worse. How about being 26th with a rotation ERA of 5.40? So they're 26th in baseball with a 5.40 ERA. They are also 23rd in baseball in home runs per 9 innings coming from the rotation. So they are all massively below average in terms of rotation ERA, home runs per 9 innings, and obviously dead last with 0 quality starts. But it gets worse because they're also 20th in slugging percentage. So teams are absolutely raking against them. Okay, so there we go. So now there's the Yankees are just basically their entire pitching staff is in the mid-20s in baseball, right? Which is all like way below average. And then it also continues to get worse. Okay, so if you guys think that that's bad, how about this? The Yankees have 2 of the 5 worst starters in the entire sport. Statistically, the Yankees have 2 of the 5 worst starters in the entire sport. Now, I'm going to have Uncle Tad's guess which two they are.
Which two? I'd have to go with Warren and Carrasco.
Well, you're right about Carlos Carrasco, but it's not Will Warren.
Okay.
Who do you think it is?
Let's say Rodon.
No, bro. Think about
All
who
right.
I just put in my Aaron Hicks award last week, or on Monday.
Stroman.
Yes. So, according to Stuff Plus, which is a new metric, right? Stroman and Carlos Carrasco are the two of the worst starters in the entire sport. Stuff Plus is important because it measures the physical characteristics of a pitch. So, we're talking about release point, we're talking about velocity, we're talking about movement, we're talking about spin rate. So the higher the Stuff Plus score is, the more leeway a pitcher can generally have with their location. Okay. Thing is, Stroman and Carrasco have zero leeway because that is an element that they just have terrible stuff. It's as simple as that. Stroman has terrible stuff. And I noticed it in that last start against the Pirates. He couldn't get anybody out. Right. And he also didn't trust his fastball. He didn't trust his slurve. He didn't trust any of his pitches because he had to kind of dot around the edges of the plate, try and finesse his way through. But he just doesn't have good stuff. So there's not going to be much leeway there. He's got terrible stuff. And just look, he's got like a 7 ERA as it stands. So he's awful. And Carrasco's actually worse than awful. Carrasco was absolutely garbage. So they have to be very precise with their command. And that's not what happened against the Tigers. That's not what happened against the Pirates. And that is the big problem, right? So now that's basically established, we've got two of the five worst starters in the entire sport. What can you do to change that? That's the big question. What can we do to change that? And the answer is not much. Because
you got the answer. Sorry to cut you off real quick, but the answer is a successful rehab assignment from Schmidt, so he gets back, so we can slot him into the rotation, and then hope that it's sooner rather than later that we get Heel back in the rotation when he's ready.
Yeah, I mean, Heel, you're probably looking about June. Yeah, I would say. I mean, they did say 3 months on him. I know he's starting to ramp things up slowly now. But I would still say that, you're probably looking about June, late May, the earliest, if you're really, really lucky. I wouldn't expect that, though. So that's the thing, man. So our only hope is to get those two guys back. But, yeah, Schmidt's going to help. So, yeah, say Schmidt comes in and you take out Carrasco, right? Carrasco's ass. That's just why you don't trust spring training, because he was great in spring training. Guy's terrible. He's got nothing. Get him out, right? So he comes in. That still doesn't address the fact you've still got Marcus Stroman there, and he's garbage, right? So then you've got to keep him in there. What about the fact that Rodon is a problem? He's a whole ass problem, right? Now, comparatively, in terms of Stroman and in terms of Carrasco, it's not, it's not like, oh, he's awful. He's not awful. He's just, we know who he is at this point. He's kind of mediocre. He's going to give you 4 or 5 great starts, and then after that, he's going to give you 6 really bad starts. Yeah. And that's just who he is at this point. He's just, he is who he is at this point. You're not going to get an ace Rodon anymore. That's cooked. That's never going to happen. That's done. You just have to accept it. So I mean, he's still a decent starter, but he's not a B. He's like a third starter at this point. And Fried, he isn't really. He's been fine. He's our only really quality starter right now, but he's not really missing any bats either. So, but I know that's not necessarily who he is, but you'd have wanted him to have gotten through the Pirates more efficiently than he has. So um, the thing is there much like strikeout pitching in our rotation right now? I mean, Will
No.
Warren is mediocre at best. Um, Max Fried's great, but he's not really a strikeout guy. Um, Stroman isn't striking out anybody. I don't even think that he'd be able to strike out a pitcher right now. So he's not missing anybody, and Carrasco's ass. So we're not really getting much swing and miss. So what's the upside with this rotation? And that's just the reality. So the good news is we're 6-5, despite the fact we have one of the worst pitching in the majors. That's the good news. The bad news is the upside isn't. I just don't see the upside with this rotation unless Luis Gil comes back pretty quickly. And Schmidt, I mean, that dude needs to be like, he can't really miss a beat. Once he's back, he just can't miss a beat.
No, and that's the nerve-wracking thing of it.
To finish there, there's just not much depth. If you look at the other options, there's just not much depth. So I think it's a real issue with this team. There's a real issue with the makeup of this team, and it really affects our ceiling going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I don't know what are they going to end up DFAing Carrasco when Schmidt gets back, or are they going to send Warren down? I mean, they're going to have some decisions to make, and they got to kind of do some soul searching of how they want to map out this season with their staff. But when you're hearing the numbers that you were putting out, I mean, this isn't just something to be concerned about. This is a serious problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about, we got off to the sweep of the Brewers, but if they actually went into the season with their rotation completely healthy, we could be looking at a very different outlook of the season so far. Our bats got lucky that we had their kind of, Nestor, who ended up on the IL, which always sucks. You never want to see anybody hurt, but the numbers are what they are when we faced him. We got lucky with the Brewers. We really did. Because that could have, that might not have been a sweep. Not to say you would have lost the series, but you can't assume a sweep when you're facing a healthy rotation. So, we could be looking at a 500 or below 500 season at this point. And we're not even facing the top teams of the league yet.
Yeah, just wait.
It's the truth of it. As much as I'm not one to, crap on other teams. But, the Pirates, we couldn't finish off the Pirates. The Tigers, they were a wild card team last year. They're showing a lot of promise. They have their youth movement that's playing really well. But it's, these are teams that our offense should be able to handle and put up some runs. But when the rotation is giving the game up as quick as they are and struggling as much as they are, now you're putting added pressure on a lineup that is still trying to figure their stuff out. It's not, the math doesn't math when it comes to this team. The pitching was supposed to be the thing that helped us survive, and the pitching right now is helping us sink.
I mean, the bullpen will be fine, but I don't know how fine the bullpen will be if you can continue to have starters just barely getting through 4 innings. Because then that's just an awful lot of pressure on your strong bullpen to continue to give 5 innings every single day. That's not sustainable, man.
No.
So that's why I'm actually a little bit more critical on Fried than most of them, because he's basically our ace now, and I need him to go 6 innings. At least Rodon's giving you 6 innings, but they're not 6 quality innings apart from his first start. So we need a little bit more swing and miss. So do we see if we look at our bullpen and see if there's an arm that we can maybe make into kind of a starter that has a little bit more like swing and miss stuff? Like I'm thinking that we need to look at other options than Carrasco, because as I've already stated, according to the statistics, Carrasco and Stroman are 2 of the worst starters in all of baseball right now. So, I mean, you could, that's not sustainable. You can't have 2 of the worst starters in the entire sport statistically. bringing up like 2/5 of your rotation. That's not sustainable. But what's the upside? I don't think Stroman's going to get any better than that. I think
No.
Stroman is who he is. And Carrasco is who he is. He was horrible last year, and he was horrible the year before that. So it's not like these guys these guys are just going through a small slump. It's going to turn around. They just don't have good stuff. Like, they just don't have good stuff. And that's the problem. If they had great stuff, then there would be a bit more leeway for them to maybe not be able to locate. But they have terrible stuff. And if they're terrible stuff plus terrible location equals loss. So, I mean, we have to look at other areas, but there's nothing really we can do in free agency. There's not really an alarm that you can use. And AAA, we don't have much depth in AAA in which you can call up somebody to maybe do a better job than Carrasco. Thus, I'm thinking that we maybe look at other arms maybe in our bullpen that you could maybe ramp up to be a starter and replace Carrasco and I'll have a think about who we could possibly look at. But this is an issue. This is an issue. It's going to affect the ceiling of this team. I'm still almost certain that this is a playoff team, but the ceiling is very, very limited. At least until Luis Gil's back. But I'm still asking a lot of that guy as well because he said he missed all of the year before last. Right now he's going to miss like half of this year. I mean, at what point do you need to be a little bit careful with the usage of Luis Gil and not put too much pressure on him to be your savior? So there's some issues here, man. But I think we all knew this when Luis Gil went down, and anyone who didn't think that this was going to be a problem wasn't paying attention. And there would be an element of delusion if you didn't think that Gerrit Cole was vital to this rotation. So that's where we're at. And we got Sierra in the chat. It's good to see Sierra, and we've not seen her in the chat in a while. So salute to her. If you guys haven't done that, so you guys got to check her and Lena out on Sundays. They are excellent.
Yeah. And let's not ignore everybody else that is hanging out with us because we never like to do that. So what's going on? And good morning. You got Nicholas Master Pietro with us. We also have CT Cards. Good to see you in the chat. Medina, Egyptian Magician, TC Steele's hanging out. Stephen B, Jared Williams. I'm looking at two names at the same time. We got Dev Finch hanging out with us. Razil the Great. What's going on? We got Lou. Of course, we know we always have cold Italian pizza. Jonathan, bright and early in the morning, as always, an hour before the show. He's already having a conversation with himself. We got FJ hanging out. Good to see everybody with us this morning. Look, I know we're going to be getting Schmidt back, and we said this earlier, but it's also, you don't know what they're going to be when they get back. So that's also a big part of it. True. And an even bigger part of the equation. If Schmidt comes back and he struggles a little bit, just trying to get back into, major league pitching rhythm, even, you'll have some starts down in the minors and he'll pitch very well. He'll come up. You might get rocked the first game. Then what's the reaction? And last year it was about, how are we going to survive until Cole gets back? Well, Cole's not coming back this season. That's why I made the equation, the comparison with a lineup. Mm-hmm. When you take Judge out of it, how everything just crumbles. Cole was the glue to the rotation because at least you knew you had at least one guy a week that was going to just bring their A game no matter what. Results may vary, but he's going to have his A game.
Yeah.
That's a huge. The Yankees they have, man. While waiting for, I guess I'll say until Heel gets back, the Yankees are. It's going to be tough, and we knew it was going to be a tough season for the Yankees. That there was still a lot. There were too many question marks on opening day, and unfortunately, like I said, the opening series with the Brewers gave us a lot of, gave fans some blind optimism, because we were like, maybe we were wrong about this team. Maybe this team is better, better than we thought. The offense has gone ice cold. And the pitching is, like you said, they're near the bottom of the league in a lot of statistics. That's not sustainable.
Right. So, I mean, at this point, the Yankees need Schmidt to come back. He needs to stabilize this rotation. You also have to hope that Heel doesn't have a setback in his recovery. Now, I do have a report from Kersher saying that he has started. He's actually starting his throwing program next week, so that's a good sign. But it's still a long ways away. So I wouldn't hold your breath there. They have to get better results out of Will Warren. But again, like, what's his upside? He's not got any, not really elite. He's got a decent changeup, but he's not really a swing and miss kind of pitcher. So I've got a suggestion, guys. What about ramping up Hedrick? Hedrick was a starter in the Twins organization last year in 2023, right? He's got a fastball splitter combo. Maybe you ramp him up and DFA Carrasco. That might be something that you consider. It was something that Chris Kirshner suggested in a really good article, guys. So I do recommend checking that athletic article out. But I would maybe look at him, because he's at least got some swing and miss stuff. He does have starter experience, and frankly, his stuff's better than Carrasco, and his stuff's already better than Stroman. I think people really like Stroman because he's a good personality, but if you really pay attention, he's not done anything for us in a while. He's not been good since last summer. The last time he was a decent starter for the Yankees was early last summer.
I think it was his first start after the All-Star break, and after that, he went to hell.
Right. So what is it that you guys are expecting? I mean, the Yankees tried to trade him desperately in the offseason, and they couldn't move him for nothing. They tried to get a middle reliever from the Giants, and the Giants were having none of Stroman's contract. Stroman has not got value around the league. And now with the most recent update that he is amongst the worst starters in all of baseball in Stuff Plus, that means that we're going to have an even harder time to move him. He's basically unmovable now. And that's an issue, because what's he penciled in as? Your third starter right now? Rodon, Sierra points out Rodon. Yeah, Rodon's getting I'm not even mentioning Rodon yet, but as I mentioned before, he'll give you, like, out of 10 starts, he'll give you 4 good ones and 6 bad ones. It's just dependent on how good those 4 are, because that's just who he is at this point. He's pretty, he's pretty mediocre. He will look good for a while, but then he will look awful. And so, but at least he has swing and miss stuff. So I'm kind of giving him a break, because he does have some nice stuff, and he'll give you some quality outings, unlike Carrasco, unlike Stroman, unlike Will Warren. He's one of our best options. And I need to see a little bit more from Fried. I really hope that Fried kind of gives us a little bit more length in his starts. It was a bit of a red flag to me that he couldn't get through the Pirates without. I mean, we have 0 quality starts. I have to reemphasize this. Do you know how hard that is at this stage, to go 2 weeks into a season and have 0 quality starts out of a rotation? 0. And you know how much money we're putting into this rotation? A lot. Fried is on a massive contract. Rodon's on a massive contract. Stroman's on a stupid contract. It was absolutely unacceptable. We gave him that contract, but he's on a massive contract. We put a lot of money into those 3 starters, and none of them have been able to give us 1 quality start in 2 weeks. I mean, we have to hold these guys to some kind of standard, man. This is like the New York Yankees. No, we're not the Pittsburgh Pirates. We should be asking a little bit more out of our starters. So I'm being pretty critical on them, because this isn't sustainable, man. We can't, every single start, we can't ask our starters to just be happy with going 4 innings. We need to get 5, 6 quality innings out of them, and I would say at least 3 out of 5 turns out of the rotation. It's massively below average we're getting, so that's a problem.
Yeah, because part of it, and Jared's bringing it up, and I think before we get into a deeper dive on Rodon, we'll get through some of these comments because the chat's really throwing out some really great points. And Jared's pointing out how the Nationals beat the Dodgers twice, and it's good to see that the Dodgers are human. And your first reaction is, well, good teams are going to lose some games, but the Yankees are in a situation right now where I don't think, and this is right now. Things can change in a week, and everything starts clicking, and we're happy again. But in the current state of the way this team looks, this is not a team that tells me they're going to be bouncing back and going on a run.
Facts.
They really they look lost.
We
They
don't
don't
have the rotation for it.
no well exactly well that's why the rotation is the biggest problem.
Mhm.
Bats go cold, especially in the weather that we've had to play in. But Tigers had no issues putting up runs. Why? Because our pitching sucks. We've had 2 games against the Tigers where we look like the Brewers pitching staff. Where it didn't matter what we threw, they were going to make contact with it. These are the problems that the Yankees are facing, and until we get Schmidt and Heel back, once both of them are back in the rotation, that's when we'll get a better feel of where we're going to be in the second half of the season. But we don't know if, like you said, which is a great point, we don't know if Heel's going to have a setback. And we know that when Schmidt gets back, there's a good possibility that he has a couple of bad starts, getting back into his rhythm with major league hitters.
Yeah.
Even though you do get quality at bats, quality hitters in the minor leagues, it is different. I don't care which way you want to put it.
Yeah.
So
now, I don't want people to come away with us saying that it's all doom and gloom and that we're already pressed the panic button and it's like it's over. We're not saying any of that because the good news is, I mean, just look at the standings in the American League. The National League, the Yankees can't compare it to a lot of the teams in the National League. I'm just being honest. But in the American League, they very much can. I mean, the Yankees, the Jays, the Sox, and the Orioles are all within a game of each other. Okay. It's all like 7-5, 6-5, 6-6. I mean, there's not really much of a difference between these in the standings. So the Yankees are going to be very much there in the American League East, and they can, even with a mediocre to bad rotation, they can still very much make a wild card with it. You look at the rest of, like, say, the AL Central. The Yankees kill the AL Central. The Royals are 6-5. The Twins are awful. The White Sox are worse than awful. They're gargantuanly bad. The Guardians are pretty awful. So only the Tigers are good in the American League Central, and I think the Royals will be good too. But there's not much there to like panic us. The Angels, I expect them to go back down to earth. The Rangers are good, and the Astros are 5-6. So I mean, it's not like the Yankees have had a horrible start. I think the Yankees are a slightly above mediocre team, and I think that's just what they are, and I think that's still enough for them to be a wild card team. It's just it depends on what your expectations are. You know what I'm saying? In fact, they could even still win the American League East with it. But it's just I'm urging us to be realistic with this rotation. This is bad rotation. It's not a good rotation. There's a reason why it's 20th, 23rd, 26th, and 30th in baseball in most metrics. And that's not something that's sustainable. So I'm not worried that we got shut out by Scooble. Scooble's one of the best in the league. That's not a problem. The fact that we kind of struggled against the Pirates in the last game and we're just getting no length from our starters regardless of who we play, that's the kind of stuff that's going to worry you. And the Tigers, where there's a really good litmus test, and we're failing the litmus test.
Yeah.
And so it'll be very interesting to see like how we bounce back today and in series moving forward once we face like good teams, because we haven't really faced a good team yet, and I would be concerned if I were the Yankees facing a good team, because um, I'm not sure if we've got the starters that can handle it.
No, if in the state that everything is right now, if we like, if when we do have to face a really good team, we're gonna get run over.
Yeah,
There's, I don't see, you want to have blind faith that, all right, maybe if we do face a team that's really in a serious playoff run, and we hope that the players will just elevate their game to match their energy, but I don't see it. And it sucks to say it, but it's the truth. I can sit here. We can sit here and try to wave pom poms and coach everybody through. Being, look, it's only April. Don't worry. The Yankees will be fine. No, I'm sorry. I got to. We call it like we see it. We don't sugarcoat anything.
no,
Because it serves no purpose to just go through the season blind. We knew there were going to be ups and downs this season. I didn't think the pitching was going to look this bad though.
yeah, that's what
I think that was the dose of reality. Is really the struggles of the rotation.
Actually, I thought Carrasco mistakenly was going to turn it around with Matt Blake, but
So did I.
give a shout out to Chris Paizola, who's on my shows on Saturday. He did say that Carrasco was really bad, and he was right. And he did also say that this was going to be a really good litmus test, the Tigers, and
Yep.
also we're facing the Giants after the Tigers, so we've got a 3-game set after the Tigers against the Giants. And the Giants are red hot right now. And then after that, it's the Royals. The good news is the Royals are kind of the same spot as we are.
They're still trying to find an identity for themselves.
Right. And then after that, it's the Rays, and then it's the Guardians and the Blue Jays.
Yeah,
These are not great teams, right? So it's definitely not all doom and gloom. The Yankees really just need representative starting pitching, and they should be able to tread water. But anything can happen. The Rays can surprise you because they're well managed, and the Royals have a really good team, and I like the Royals this year. It's just that. So you can't take the Royals lightly. So Jared's definitely not, and I'm not either. I really like the Royals lineup. Actually, I really like their team, but by and large, a lot of these teams are just kind of like mediocre. So the Yankees should be able to get their share of wins, but I don't know what they're going to be like against the Giants. The Giants are on fire right now. They look like a really good team. They're 8-3. They look like they're going to be a force in the National League. So maybe the next coming week might be pretty ugly, but then things might start settling down once we get into the rest of the month. But we have to be realistic about this rotation. That's why I think Hedrick is a really good.
I like that idea.
Option, yeah.
And I know Rob would be on board with that.
Yeah, it's just they need to do something different. Carrasco is not the Cookie Carrasco of yesteryear. He's not the Guardians Cookie Carrasco. He's cooked Carrasco.
Yeah, which is really sad.
Yes, Cookie's getting cooked, and this Cookie needs like thrown out in the garbage. So he's past his expiry date. So that's done. And Stroman. I think Stroman's right there with him. I think Stroman's ass. I really do.
Yeah, it's with Carrasco. It's like because we came into the season, with some optimism. With we were actually feeling better about Carrasco in the rotation than Stroman. Mm-hmm. We thought being on a winning a team that just came off a World Series. And going for another playoff run to kind of revitalize him a little bit. But it's really clear that his days are done. And he's going to be in the rotation until we just get a little healthier. I could see him being DFA'd when Schmidt comes back over, rather than
Yeah,
Warren.
Schmidt has to come back, and he has to be really
I
good.
think Warren. I don't think they want to give up on that investment yet. But I want to bring up one more comment here. I know we're kind of teasing around Rodon, but we will, believe me, we are going to get
I
into
think we
him.
should break down a ton of comments because these guys have been great. The chat
Yeah.
has been very, very good. So
Uh,
that's going to be our focus for the rest of this show.
so Doran, what's going on, Doran? I know you kind of came in after the roll call. But she's saying, the Yankees lost Cole, Hill, and Schmidt. Name a rotation that loses their best, second best, and after free join, fourth best starters and wouldn't falter a bit. I think that's and that's kind of what we were saying earlier to open the when we started the show. It's hard to lose the arms that we did and really be sustainable, especially with a very shaky lineup. And I made the point, if you took, like when we take Judge out of the lineup, it falls apart.
Yeah.
Same thing like with now losing Cole, everything else kind of fell apart. And then we lost arguably our second best pitcher with Heel off of his, rookie of the year season. And Schmidt, that was looking very promising. He was a legitimate back in the rotation guy. Our 4 or 5 would be somebody's maybe 3. So, it really sucks to lose that many guys to start the season.
I want to pull up
earlier than late.
I do want to pull up on Darn a little bit, though. It looks like he's kind of giving the Yankees a little bit of a break here. So, first of all, you still have Max Fried, who's been one of the best pitchers since 2020. You still got Rodon, who we acquired after the Giants. We get like a 2.93 ERA, and he was, potential Cy Young candidate when we acquired him. It's not like we have nothing in the rotation. Marcus Stroman, we paid an ungodly amount of money for this dude. And he's been a quality starter through his career. So it's not like we have absolutely nothing. But here's the problem. There's no depth. Who do you want in AAA to be called up? We don't have any depth. Whose fault is that? It's not my fault. It's not Tats's fault. It's not injury's fault. It's the organization's fault because they don't have really much depth that's coming through. So the Yankees have to be accountable as well. So there's that. The Yankees are relying on Cookie Carrasco, who's, as I've already pointed out at the start of the show, along with Marcus Stroman, 2 of the 5 worst starters in all of baseball, according to Stuff Plus. Their stuff is garbage. The Yankees couldn't find somebody with better stuff. And that's, again, I have to hold the Yankees accountable as well.
Can I throw a little
I know that all I'll say is I know that the top end of the rotation's gotten a big hit, obviously with Luis Gil being down, with Garrett Cole being out. And so it does affect the ceiling. I already said it affects the ceiling. Absolutely. You have to lower your expectations a little bit. But the rotation isn't just faltering. Statistically, they're 20th in slug, 26th in ERA. That's not faltering. That's collapsing. There is a difference. Falter is like mediocre, like being in the 15s and 16s in baseball. I'm talking about being 26th. I'm talking about being 30th. I'm talking about being dead last. That's not faltering. That's completely collapsing. So I'm sorry. I have to hold the Yankees a little bit accountable with that. It's not just the injuries. They don't really have much depth.
Yeah, maybe, just maybe, Cashman was right when he was really adamant about not wanting to trade King. Okay, remember, he did not want to get rid of that arm. Hal made the decision. Go, no, if they want him, give it to him. Hal overrode Cashman on that one.
Yeah, TC Steele's right here.
And not to say that Cashman's not at fault. Believe me, he's put a lot of blame on himself. But before we get, just remember, Cashman was adamant about not wanting to give up on King.
Yeah. TC Steeles is right. Cashman loves DFA dumpster diving to fill out his roster, which we've seen with Cookie Carrasco. It's ridiculous when other teams have tons of young talent all over the place. And as Jonathan's pointing out, we've lost a lot of guys in the Rule 5 and a lot of failed trades. Like, I mean, we've what about Scott Efros? How about that as a failed trade? we have lost some quality arms over the last few years, and we haven't really made up that depth. So that depth needs to be rebuilt. But there's just not really quality depth coming through, and that's why we're asking guys that are cooked like Carrasco and Stroman. And I mean, I still make the Soto trade every day. Absolutely, you still make that trade every day, but um, I still think the Yankees should have better options than sending out a Cookie and a Stroman, who they didn't even want Stroman to be in the rotation this year. They didn't even want him to even be in the roster this year, but nobody wants him. And the Yankees willingly gave that contract. They willingly gave that 140 innings, which is scaring teams off. The good news is Stroman's so bad that he won't even make 140 innings, even if the Yankees try really hard. He can't because he's that bad. So, you know me. I'm always going to be realistic, and I'll hold the organization accountable to some of these aspects. But we've got a lot of people in the chat, so let's break them all down and give your thoughts, Tats. So I'll start with Medina here. Schmidt will help, but he's not your savior. Tats, you agree?
No, I do agree with that. It's not like he's an ace pitcher that's coming back into the fold. But he's a durable pitcher. He's going to give us better numbers than what we're seeing right now. I have complete faith in saying that. But to be a savior, no, I think the savior is going to actually be Heel. I think once we get him back into the fold, if the Yankees still have their heads above water, it's going to give a lot of confidence to us as fans going into the second half of the season.
It's fair. Nicholas, I'm already getting pissed with this team. FJ, I like this. Will Warren has to learn to get out of his head. He gives up a double and he falls apart. He won't be a major league pitcher with that mindset. Yeah,
I agree.
He might be a middle reliever with that mindset. That's a very good point. Plus, I've always had questions about like the quality of his stuff. I like his changeup, but I'm not sure how frontline his stuff is. TC Steel says the offense has been very inconsistent. So when we get down early, the game is pretty much over. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think the offense, we weren't expect. Well, it could be looked at multiple ways to be, because we weren't expecting the offense to be this, this fire starter and just tear up the league. We knew that there were flaws within the lineup and there were holes in the lineup, and it was just all a matter of how everything flowed. But to put it on, it's a collective. The blame is collective between the pitching and the hitting. The pitching and the offense are not on the same page right now. Neither one is helping the other out.
I mean, I'll push back a little bit because the offense started off like gangbusters. It's impossible for that to continue. I mean, they put up a football score, multiple times against the Brewers. That's not something that's going to happen every series, And I don't blame them from being shut out by Tariq Skubal. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball for a reason. Not worried about that necessarily. Plus, there's also the element of the fact that we've played in a lot of cold weather fronts in Pittsburgh and Detroit, so that's it's kept a lot of things in the park a little bit. But I've already said before, I think there's far too many strikeouts in this lineup anyway.
Yeah,
and we don't have. I don't know. We don't have the kind of on base percentage in this lineup that I would have expected. Or certainly not much power from the right side after Aaron Judge. So these are all problems we already knew about. It's to be honest, the offense has actually surprised me. I've been very pleasantly surprised by the most part. I didn't expect this home run extravaganza that we've had 1 through 9. That's been a really positive thing. It's just for me, I think the starters have been by far the worst aspect of this team. Like I can live with this lineup. I can't live with this rotation. This rotation's garbage outside of Max Fried and a little bit of Rodon.
No, I'm definitely more patient with the offense than the pitching. That I will say.
You can see other comments here. Donald Tatz, look at the Yankees' top 30 prospects. I think 18 of them are pitchers, and most of the best pitching prospects are in single A, double A, but lower. Yeah, but they're not
Yeah,
ready right now.
I was
And
gonna say that's not
obviously,
helping us now.
yeah, well, I'm talking about what's going to help us right now. When we need a little bit more depth because, I mean, isn't this team supposed to be competing for playoffs / championship? So pitchers in single A and double A is of no use to me right now.
Let's get.
TC brings that up. We have no pitching talent triple A. Exactly. That's why I'm suggesting trying Hedrick and stretching him out as a starter. Sunil goes to the point where he's kind of criticizing some of Cashman's moves here. Willie, Calhoun, Franchi Cordero, Jake Bowers, Bill McKinney, Greg Allen. He loves those guys. He's right. And that's why I felt that the year that we didn't make the playoffs with Aaron Judge breaking his toe was a wasted season because the Yankees learned nothing. That was the year that you give Peraza full run, and you give our prospects a full run. At least I want to, if we're going to lose, I want to lose by learning about our system rather than losing and learning that AAA guys, AAA veterans that stink. That's all I learned. So what do you really learn from that? So I felt that was a wasted year. I really hate wasted years. If you lose your best hitter, you know that you're likely not going to make the playoffs anyway. So I would write it out with your kids. And they didn't do it enough. And so we never should have seen the Jake Bowers and those assholes. Ken, the Yankees drafted 16 pitchers last season, signed another 10 international free agents. The depths will come. Unfortunately, most of these guys are. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's still going to take. It's still going to take a couple of years for these guys to progress through our system. I'm just talking about right now. Like that's all I'm focused on right now because while the Yankees continue to tell us we are a championship caliber organization and all that stuff, then I have to hold them to that standard. Thus, where's our depth and why is 2/5 of our rotation two of the worst starters in baseball statistically? That's not something that I'm willing to forgive, even with the injuries. There has to be better options. Medina disagrees with you a little bit, Tats. I disagree a little bit with Tats. Schmidt has a hard time staying on the field because he's a bit injury prone himself. That's a good point, man. I mean, he had a back problem all off season. Schmidt hasn't really been healthy all off season.
No.
So we're asking him to, more or less carry the rotation along with Max.
No,
Fried.
I didn't say Schmidt was going to. I disagreed that he'd be the savior. I said he'd be an improvement to what we have now.
Oh, he will be. It's just no. What I'm saying is the Yankees are generally asking him to shoulder a bigger burden than he really should.
Then they're fools for putting it on him.
Exactly, and that's what I'm more pointing out is that they just don't have the depth, and they didn't really do enough in the offseason to circumvent that lack of depth because you can never have enough pitching, and they obviously knew that Garrett Cole had a problem. They knew it, right? It was just a case of when it was going to take Tommy John surgery. Thus, I would have expected them to be a little bit more aggressive, but they weren't. But they weren't aggressive with this lineup either. The Yankees always feel so defeated every time they trail early in the game. It's very frustrating to watch. It's like it doesn't care or anything. I don't think it's that because I've actually been pretty happy with. I've been pretty happy with their approach. They strike out too much, but they seem pretty locked in. I have to be honest; they've actually pleasantly surprised me. I know 6-5 isn't that impressive, but they've actually pleasantly surprised me, and I've been more or less kind of happy with the way they played. I just don't like the fact that 2/5 of rotation is complete garbage. I don't like that at all, and I think there should be better options for a team like the Yankees with $300+ million to spend.
Do we want to go through the lineup real quick?
Yeah, I'll just finish off what else we have.
Comments? Yep.
Because we've got lots of cool comments. FJ says DJ is starting rehab in Somerset soon. Yeah, he's starting a rehab assignment. The only
As
assignment
long
I
as he
want to
takes over for Reyes, I don't care.
the only assignment I want to see from DJ LeMahieu is designated for assignment. Anything other than that, I'm not interested in. Ken says Cam Schlitter could fortify the rotation if Beater returns. Um, Beater's headed to the pen, says Doron. Yeah, I think the Yankees want Beater to be a bullpen arm because he might not have the durability so far. We've not really seen that yet. And that's a lot of our comments. So I do want to say a big thank you to everyone in the chat. It's pretty much mandatory now. You guys got to hit the like button. If you're in this chat and you're talking to us, hit the like button, please. We need the likes up. We need to get this out. We need to continue to grow this channel and keep the lights on. So that's the only thing we're asking of you guys, to hit that like button and share it out. But Uncle T, get that lineup out.
Yep. So leading off as DH, we have Ben Rice. Second in right field is Aaron Judge. We got Bellinger in center. Batting fourth is Goldschmidt playing first. We got Jazz at second, Volpe at short, Dominguez in left. Escara is getting the catching role today. We got Cabrera at third, and taking the ball today at 1:00 is Max Fried.
Okay, that's better. Who's our leadoff guy? Sorry,
leading off is Rice.
Ben Rice is seems to be the preferred leadoff option right now, and his at bats have been his at bats been very, very positive. Bellinger is back from food poisoning, so we'll see how he does.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Isn't it strange, Donald, that we saw towards the end of spring training how often they were using Wells in the leadoff spot?
Mm-hmm.
He led off for opening day, and we haven't seen him in that spot since.
And he was tremendous in opening day. Like, he was flawless.
Now, Wells is a guy I think you could put him anywhere in the lineup. He'll show production. But I just think it's strange that that was the only day that he's been the leadoff guy.
I think that's something that we should be looking more into. You're spot on. Because spring training is an ideal opportunity to test out what's your most efficient lineup.
And it was working.
And it was working. I mean, it's not to say that Ben Rice hasn't been very, very good in the leadoff, but I think Ben Rice can hit anywhere. He's that kind of guy. So it's not to say that Ben Rice hasn't been very good at leadoff. It's just Austin Wells has been excellent all the way through spring. He profiles excellently as a leadoff guy because he works a lot of deep counts.
Yeah.
And he works enough counts in order to see quality pitches, which can only help those after him, such as Aaron Judge, to see a whole pitcher's arsenal. That's what I liked about Austin Wells leading off. Plus, he's certainly no slouch running the base paths. It kind of made a whole lot of sense. And I think Austin Wells is actually better there than he is in the middle of the lineup. We kind of got the middle of the lineup kind of all right with Goldschmidt and Jazz. Heck, even Volpe, but Ben Rice would be absolutely fine in the middle of the lineup. So I would go back to Austin Wells leading off. I'm not quite sure why they did that all spring, just never see that again. It's very strange to me.
Just to do it one game, it's not. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I can see if the Yankees were 7-3 at this point. Like, all right, it worked on opening day, but the lineup since have also worked. But it's also a very, very jumbled lineup. It seems like every game there's something different that they're doing. And that doesn't help the offense either.
Ken says the Yankees should toggle Jazz and Wells. Get Jazz off swinging for the fence. I think that's just his swing, man. I think he's a guy that's never going to hit for average. He's gonna strike out 150 times plus in a year, easy in a good year. But he does give you that slug and pop. That's just who he is. I don't think that's something that you really want near the leadoff spot. It's much more pronounced than even Alfonso Soriano. That guy strikes out a ton, man. Jazz already leads the majors in strikeouts by a mile, but he's also one of the best power hitting second basemen in baseball too. So I think he's fine in the middle of the order. I think that's who he is. I don't want that uh, leading off because there's just no on base percentage there. Plus, the Yankees don't really want somebody with speed leading off because you don't want they're afraid of stealing bases prior to Aaron Judge coming to the plate and then maybe getting themselves thrown out. So they're not really asking for stolen bases at the top of the lineup like in the old days. Thus,
No.
Jazz is fine in the middle of the order, I think.
No, but I mean, Jazz, I think he's got what? I think he's 4 for his last 34, something like that. He's ice cold. So don't even. I'm not even thinking about him for the top of the order.
Yeah,
For me, it's either Rice or Wells. I want to see Wells get put back in that spot to see what spark it brings.
that's a good point. I mean, obviously, the comment, one of the comments in the chat is that he's cooled off. Maybe it's the fact the Yankees have been messing him around and been throwing him all over the lineup. It's hard to get consistency that way. I've always been a firm believer that and it's not just myself, but former major leaguers would agree that they like having a consistent spot in the lineup, that they can get used to the roles, get used to that. But I know that the modern analytics doesn't really care about that. But I think Austin Wells would do well being a little bit to have a consistent spot in the lineup, and let him just kind of grow into that role rather than having him lead off one day, batting seventh the other day, middle of the order the next day. It's just a little bit too much for me.
Yeah,
Especially get guys consistently in the right spots, because you've already seen it with Jazz. He's pretty much consistently cleaning up, and he's been fine. He's been good. I just kind of leave it like that. I think try and get a consistent lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they kind of dropped him out of the cleanup spot and they have Goldie in there. But I mean, he's going from batting fourth to fifth today, so it's not too big of a deal.
Yeah,
but I also think it's this is they're gonna get a lot of criticism for it, and I'm going to agree with the Yankees for doing it. But giving Wells the off day, even though there's no game tomorrow, giving him just that 2 days of rest to kind of get his rest up, especially for a catcher that we really rely on. But I like that they're trying to get they're giving him the extra day, not just the 1 day off.
No, that makes sense. So obviously Max Fried's on the bump tonight. Or I should say this afternoon.
Just get through 5. I'm not even going to exaggerate on trying to get through 6. Just get through 5 innings.
Who's who are we matching up against? Who's the pitcher on the bump for the Tigers?
Switch screens here. Flaherty.
Oh fuck. Well, we'll see. I like Flaherty. Flaherty's really good.
Fingers crossed. Strange things happen.
Yeah, that's true. Anything can happen, but that's not great for us. No. It's not great. What we need is Max Fried to give us 6 innings and 6 quality starts, because if he does 6 quality innings, because if he does, that would be the first time that we've had a quality start from a starter this year. Yep. Which is mind-blowing at this stage of the season that we've had 0 quality starts.
Yeah, and Doran's right. Shame on them for not, with the contract that he got for the Yankees. Well, we have Stroman. We don't need Flaherty. we had Carrasco. We don't need Flaherty. What do you need a quality arm for? We got these guys.
What do you need a quality arm for? Not us.
I think the question in the show is this going to, are we going to get, is Fried going to give this team its first quality start? And that's going to be the big question. Are we going to come on Friday and be like, what, Fried showed up?
And is he going to give us 6 innings of 2-run ball? I hope so. I hope so. I don't know. I
Well,
really don't know. I hope so.
we'll
Fried's
have
been
to.
fine. He's not been great, but he's been fine. Let's hope that maybe because he was obviously I wasn't very impressed with him first start. Second start was better. Let's see if the third start's even better out
Let's
from
see.
there,
Yeah,
and continues to get better from there on. He is technically meant to be our ace, so we need to
yeah.
get a
Well,
little bit more ace stuff from him.
yeah. Well, we're gonna find out, later today how the start went, and then we will be back on Friday with Rob to break down the series. We'll have the awards, and we'll squeeze in some offensive numbers that we've been looking, that are going on with the Yankees,
I
and see
really
what
hope the
happens.
Yankees do something today because right now I've got no awards to give. Nothing positive.
I know but the
There's
way they're playing right now. The award. See,
it's
but
gonna be a
you know
very
what I
short
like about it
awards.
though,
It
because
might be
this
just
forces
the
us to just get a little more creative with who we give awards to.
it might be just like the L in the Iron because there is no awards to give. There's not an
L number
MVP.
one, L number two, L number.
Exactly. There's no okay. There's nothing positive right now. This Tiger series has been so low key, like nothing. Has been bad, but it's not even been egregious that you just like it makes you angry. It's just been just like, oh, this is just like the Yankees are dead. They don't want to play. It's too cold. Sunil, please stop bringing up that word. I know I use it, but you're using it too much. Find another word. Anyway,
It's I can't. I mean, the only thing I'm asking for is for the Yankees to stop giving out home runs like Oprah gives out, cars. Because that's the other problem is they give up way too many. It seems like every game they're giving up home runs. Just keep the ball in the damn park. You have a legitimate defense, use them. But we'll see how today pans out. Like I said, strange things happen, but you can't presume. That's the fun part about it.
that's
Is you
true.
can't assume one way or another. It could be Cole on the mound and get lit up. Who knows what happens? But with that, we are going to say goodbye to everybody. Hope everybody does enjoy the rest of their day. This has been Pitchside Chronicles with Uncle Tats, Donald, and all of you awesome people in the chat. So just remember to hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out, and just always remember to wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.